So, hey everybody, thank you for joining me. My name is Todd Ronan, and I'm joined here with some friends that are interested in learning what TAPP means. It's not about tap dancing. It's not about anything other than remote viewing and expanding your perception. We've got some people here that have taken my course in the past, and I'd like to have them maybe give some feedback about what they experienced during the course. And we've got some people that are interested in learning about taking my course coming up, and some people that are signed up for the next course. So kind of TAPP has evolved by everyone's learning things on Zoom now, and I wanted that to be more accessible to people. I was teaching remote viewing, my method, live in 3-day workshops, and I would go around the different cities about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And so since nobody travels anymore, I've kind of evolved the method and made it a lot longer. What links the past, present, and future, making them all viewable and reasonable and accuracy is the main question in your mind. That is a big question to unpack. What links the past, present, and future, making them all viewable? I guess the best answer to that question would be you are more than your physical body, and you're able to, hey, welcome, Liz. Liz is here now. She can chat and yell at us. Welcome. Thanks for coming in. I'm really glad that you're here and glad that you could pop in and make the time. And I appreciate you posting this for me. We can't hear Liz yet, but soon I hope we will be able to hear Liz.
Oh, did you want me to speak? I was listening to your presentation.
Oh, well, no, you can talk whenever you want. You can jump in whenever you want. I was just going to say, because you're more than your body, you can access that information, but we have closed down that avenue to accessing our higher awareness. And so what my TAPP method does is there's a couple of different ways that you can make that higher awareness more accessible to you in everyday life. So but it requires practice. It's not going to be a quick, fast process. And that's why I also offer ongoing training. So that's free for my course. Like every other week, my people that took my course meet and we do sessions for the week and we talk about it, because the hardest part of doing remote viewing or learning anything is sticking to it, because you're excited about it, you want to do it, but then I forgot about it, I don't do it anymore. But that's why I want to still motivate you. 6 weeks later, when we're done, I'm still going to say, hey, let's meet every other Monday and let's do remote viewing, because that's exciting. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, you can type in the chat or, shout, whatever you want. I'm just going to, I made a little presentation to kind of explain the process, and you can ask questions because it's kind of an informal gathering. The reason I rebranded remote viewing is because everybody's doing remote viewing, and remote viewing, if you talk to remote viewers, is inappropriately named because you're not actually viewing anything, you're perceiving something. So it's a perception process. Paul Smith calls it remote perception, but I call it an awareness through time, and that didn't sound right. And TAPP came to me. Usually I'll get an acronym and then I make up, I work backwards from what we had. So TAPP came to me, and then I had to ask myself, what does TAPP mean? Well, it's an awareness beyond where we are currently living, in our everyday state. It's a temporal awareness. So you're accessing information that you'll get later, that you'll get in the future. And it's a way to kind of broaden your perception field and your filter so that you're getting information from your future self or a future state. And Liz, I came up with that before you started doing people's future self progression, but I think I had this, how many years ago now? Well, 2015 probably, or 2015 is when I came up with TAPP. So it's been ongoing, and there's a lot of evolution that's happened since I taught it in 3-day live courses. I run the website Remote View It, which isn't up because I don't know what happened to my web programmer. He left. So if you know web programmers want to put up a website for me, let me know. I'm excited about that. And then I run Reality Forecast, which is kind of a separate entity, but it helps to look at what's coming and perceive what's coming. And that's kind of a new offshoot branded podcast that Dagmo and I are working on to build out. It's in its infancy, so it will grow hopefully soon and be more exciting. When we think about how to perceive something, everything is information. And it also, I have 3 little dots, everything is also energy. So we perceive energy and information in a way that they seem like they're dissociative ideas, but they're actually synonymous, because everything has sort of a like a resonance to it, or a frequency to it. And so that's what I mean when I talk about the energy and that state of information. You can perceive things by understanding how to process that information that's coming to you, or that energy that's coming from you. But not everybody's going to process this information the same. So that's why in a smaller group, it's easier for me to see how you process information, so that we can get your perception filters better in that direction. Some people may be a really visual remote viewer, and so they get like a lot of perceptions. Some people might be like an audio remote viewer. They'll get songs to be a parable or a metaphor for something. But there's no one way, and that's what the old remote viewing methods taught. They said, do it this protocol, this way, there's nothing else, you have to do it this way. But we're not like that, and you're not psychic spies. So the old method of remote viewing is good for being a psychic spy, but it's not really good for everybody in their daily life. Oh, thank you. That's great, Omid. I appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions about those concepts of like energy being information?
Can I just say something?
Yeah, totally.
That's exactly what I do. I just read energy. And when you're remote viewing, you're picking up on different energetic fields and items in and around the target. And maybe I don't know how how exposed, excuse me, they have been to, remote viewing. I know Omid has done remote viewing, Dagmo. Some of us have, but remote viewing essentially is, do you work with double blind targets, Ronan, or
Double blind
what do you
means
do
that
there?
I don't know what the target is, but I work with blind
Yeah.
targets. So I know what the target is when I'm making up the course and giving it to people. I've done double
Mhm.
blind targets, but it's really hard to do, because you have to rely on someone that knows how to write a cue properly and how to assign it properly. And it's hard to find people that have that level of scrutiny. The people that are really interested in double blind are terrible at writing cues. So they need someone kind of as a remote viewing trainer to get them to write a proper cue, because they're the scientistas of remote viewing. They want to know how the nuance of information comes through, so that we can properly categorize in this database which information was correct, which information was incorrect. And that kind of loses the whole process of the experience. So like when I
Yes.
give people information in my course, I know what all the targets are. And you could argue they're reading my mind and getting what the targets are, but I often forget what the hell the targets are. So I have a pool that I pull from, and we'll do 4 sessions during one night, and I won't remember what they are until I look at them. So that's my answer to being double blind. Double blind means that so someone is a tasker, they provide a remote viewing target for somebody, but they don't know what the target is. So the remote viewing people believe that the remote viewers are reading the mind of the tasker to get the information about it. The target.
But that actually happens, though. You can actually, because listen, I've done that. So, for instance, there was a missing person, and just out of an experiment, I had a team of remote viewers. I knew about the person. I knew where I thought he last was spotted, right? And my perception of where he was. And I tasked the group, and they all came back with what I knew, which was completely wrong, by the way. That was a big learning curve for me. So but do you actually, what the tasks are? So you're saying the task in order to score it? Because so for instance, when we have a remote viewing target, you give a coordinate. Do you give a coordinate? Do you give a word? How do you do that?
Yeah, so there's a target reference number, which is a alphanumeric code that I give to people, and then they're blind to the target, and then they'll go through and do a session. So there's a few stages of the remote viewing TAPP process that I have, and we don't do a full session all the time. We work up to that, and I'll go through the stages in a bit. But
okay, so like So you issue the target and then they work on it and then you score it. Do you score it through a database, or do you score it just, going down with a piece of paper and?
No, I give people what's called an RV journal. So it's a page they can print up, and I forgot to last time, but they can go through and they can score their own session to find out if they're really good at smells,
Oh,
at sense, at, which of their five senses they're good at.
yeah.
But they can do that on their own. I don't do it in a database. I know Lynn Buchanan likes to do that, but it's not necessary for the training. I just want to see that people
No.
get a good connection to what the target site is, or the photo. And so there's visual feedback for people, or there's a descriptive, sentence feedback for people. There's always going to be visual feedback. It's a target that you'll be able to see and get feedback on, and that helps build your confidence that you're doing well at it.
It does to help. And I like how you just said you figure out which sense works best for you. That's
Right.
really important. And most remote viewing classes don't do that.
Well, so the other main remote viewing courses, they're either 6 weeks, but they're once a week, or they're for 4 weeks, or they're for 3 days. But I found that 3 and 4 days isn't even enough to get questions. So people might have a question like 3 weeks into it about something we did in week 1, and everybody else in the course has the same question, but they don't want to ask. So having it over 6 weeks and 12 sessions in 24 hours allows people to, oh yeah, remember when you said way back in week 1, what does that mean? Let's cover that. And so we'll go over that.
Yeah, thanks for answering those questions. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, interrupt. Anybody wants to interrupt, that's fine. This is very informal too. So I just wanted to define like what remote viewing is. It's a protocol. And so that's what the meticulous research at Stanford Research Institute said in the 70s. It is planned and it has intent. It is blind or double blind, and it's not done front loaded. Front loaded just means you know what it is. So if you had like a photo, I'll get a photo over here from my photo pairs. Like if you had a photo of this cat statue, that might be a target, but you wouldn't see what the target is. And then you would sketch and you would get perceptions that it's hard, that it's metallic, that it's reflective, and you would get those low level stage 2 perceptions, which are your body perceptions first. And then we'd move into accessing it from being at the target site. But so it's not done front loaded. That's what front loaded would be if I showed you the picture, but we're not doing that. And also a record has to be kept. That can be paper, or you can record your perceptions into your phone, or you can use a tablet. Well, when I first took remote viewing training with Ed Dames in 2002, this guy had a tablet and it was like this thick, and it was like the size of your screen. And he was carrying it around. He's like, hey, this is great. Now we can do it on a tablet, but the tablet was like 3 inches tall. Now I have a tablet and it's much easier to carry around. I have it in my car and I do sessions when I'm out and about. And also remote viewing, they say that feedback must be provided. So tangible feedback too. So whether it's a picture, whether it's the actual written down cue, it'll give you an idea of what it is that you saw. So my process is kind of different. I have a couple other steps that I've added to TAPP. One of them is in remote viewing traditional, you write down what your feelings are, and you're supposed to make those not interrupt your session. So I have you take stock of your body and feel your body and understand what your body is feeling and what pain you might be experiencing and what issues you might be having. And then I teach you techniques to remove those pain or those feelings and then re-heal yourself kind of in like a 30 to 90 second cleanse, or it's like a mini Reiki, but it's not really Reiki. It's something that you're doing for yourself. And that's like the first stage they don't teach you about, because they didn't really know about energy or feelings in the military. Remember, this whole remote viewing method came about from the methodology that they created from, how to get guys to be psychic spies. And it's more than that now. I also teach you how to create fields of protection around you, yourself, and your spaces. So a lot of times you can pick up on a negative energy that is at a target site. And unless you've identified and prepared for what is going to be at that site, you might get that attachment to you, or you might pick up on that. A prime example is the people at the wonderful people at Farsight Prime who do remote viewing exercises weekly of aliens and ETs. I worry about them because I think that they may be picking up some kind of negativity associated with those targets that they're not removing from themselves. They do meditate, but they don't create sacred spaces around themselves to do remote viewing. So I think that's also helpful. And then I provide you with a few different processes to open the aperture wider to and higher awareness of yourself. So we talk about what the higher self means to each person, and we help you sort of develop a free way to get there more quickly. And it's going to be different for everybody too. So it's not going to be one unique process. And I also provide a process to access your own internal discernment, which is an ongoing process, and you're not always going to be 100% right, but it's a gut check, and it's a better way to kind of understand what something is correct or incorrect. And it's the method that they use as stage 7 in remote viewing, or stage 8, depending on which manual you read. But it just helps you, it's your binary discernment. And if everyone can get better at binary discernment, the remote viewing could skyrocket, and they could be a lot better because you can access proper, correct decisions all the time. And finally, my TAPP method evolves based on consciousness understanding. So everything I know about consciousness today in 2022, I put into this course. But if I know something different or understand better how portals to information like wormholes develop, I'll add that into my course in 2025 or 2026, because I don't want it to be something that's static or that sits there. And that's what the old remote viewing methods are. You learn this. This isn't going to change. This is the way that it was done, and this is the way that it has to be done. And that's okay for them to live in that way. But for me, if there's new ways to do something better, faster, quicker ways, I want to know about that, because more people have done remote viewing over the last 50 years, and it makes it easier for the rest of the people that haven't done it to get to those spaces, faster. So that's a couple of ways that my method is different. And like, people want to know, what is it about me that makes me available to teach remote viewing? Well, I took remote viewing courses. I was fascinated by it. I first saw Joe McMoneagle on Nightline in 1986, the first episode where they said, hey, we had a psychic spy program and now we're releasing it to the public. That was in 1996. And I saw that Nightline episode and I thought, wow, that's really cool. I want to learn more about how they do that. So I was involved in Yahoo groups back in the 90s, and they were hinting about how to do remote viewing, but you really had to get formal training in order to do the process. So I went and met with Major Dames in 2002 and did ongoing training with him over the next probably 10 years, and then took another remote viewing course from someone here in Austin named Nancy Jean in, I think, 2013. And she kind of weaned me off from the technical remote viewing, and I taught me controlled remote viewing, which is much more open and sort of free form, and you can get more information more quickly. And then I was really intrigued by the Hawaii Remote Viewer Guild, who is what Dick Allgaier does, and their method is very, very cool too. So they have great techniques to get information. And then I took training with John Vabanco, who teaches transdimensional systems, who's actually an offshoot of Courtney Brown and Prudence Calabrese. And John said, why are you taking my course? Because you know all these other remote viewing methods. It's fascinating to me. And I said, because I don't know yours. I want to learn more about how your process works and how I can adapt that and make that better. So all of those methods I kind of combine based on my understanding of consciousness and consciousness exploration to develop TAPP. And I've always been interested in mysteries, like how do we know what's true, especially in the world today. It's kind of difficult to discern what's true, what's not true. So that's why remote viewing and this TAPP process, I think, can help. And I like to see things like evolve and the evolution of things. That might not be true. I really don't like change, but I like change towards progress of things that make things better. So it's kind of half truth, that second one. Does anybody have any questions about what we've covered right now quickly? Or Liz, do you want to say anything?
Well, other than remote viewing needs to evolve, this whole dinosaur method is just, I think it's holding people back now.
Yeah.
And the remote viewing is so much more, and you can actually make your own modifications. Yeah. I feel very strongly that when you use mixed modalities, that is more powerful than just remote viewing on its own. So if you were to use like a remote viewing and tarot cards, or remote viewing and CTT, or remote viewing and whatever it is you do, it makes it extremely powerful. And for those of you that don't know, remote viewing is, for me, it's being able to control my abilities, right? So, when you're talking to spirit, you're getting anything, right? They're telling you, their life story and this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. I got into remote viewing because I've worked on loads of homicide cases. I was working on a major homicide case, and I was like, this detective didn't, they don't have time to waste, right? You can't send these detectives on a wild goose chase. They don't have the time, they don't have the resources. So I was like, how am I going to find out this information from what happened to this dead body from this time to this time? And suddenly I came across remote viewing. And that's what it does. It blocks out unnecessary information and makes you focus on the target. So, I mean, for those people that are new here that don't have a clue what remote viewing is, that's all essentially it really is. It's just being able to focus on a particular target.
Right.
So when Ronan is talking about issuing targets, in remote viewing, you issue targets by using a coordinate, because you don't want to say, can you view the pyramids? Right? Because you don't want to give them any idea of what they're viewing. So you have to label it with the target number, and you want to make that target number very obscure. So that's what he means when he's issuing a coordinate to a target, if that makes sense.
Thank you for picking up on that. I appreciate it. So when you do a remote viewing session, this is really all you need: a quiet space, blank paper and black pens or blue pens, or a writing tablet, and then a voice recorder app, an open mind. And for this course, you need a Gmail account, but that's it. That's all you need. And the rest is in your mind. It's between your ears, the ability to process, and like Liz said, the ability to focus on that singular target or cue or perception, and really understand it and perceive it. And it's about perceiving it in a different way, because we have our five senses that we use, which we rely on, but it's better to experience something in your higher mind also has those five senses. So you can perceive those olfactory senses and the taste senses without actually being there. Yeah, Calico, go ahead.
I just, it sounds like you gotta always have a team or being a part of a team in order to do remote viewing. Is that the case?
No, it's all you. It's really your connection to your higher self and your higher mind is what we're trying to develop. So that's always there and it's always with you, but it's different from your guides or your angel. We're not connected to them through this process. We're just developing our ability to connect and communicate with our higher self and our higher information source.
Can I just jump in there? So also, you can learn the tools of remote viewing, and then if you wanted to do it on your own, you just basically, this is what you do. You can either use one of the target sites, like Lynn Buchanan has a big target site. I think Dav Smith has a huge target. Do you have a website with just targets on it, Rowan?
There are a couple that I have that I was going to drop this weekend. Yeah, there's a few of them.
Yeah, so you can, there's those. But if you wanted to do like your own targets, take 100 pieces of paper, you write down your targets on those 100 pieces of paper, you fold them up, you put them in a bag, you shake it up, right? Shake it up. And then you pull your piece of paper out, right? So this is how you're blind to the target. You don't want to give yourself the previous information unless you're like me. So what do I mean by that? I don't have any problem placing my signal line where it needs to go because I'm a natural psychic medium. But if you're, if you do have a problem placing the signal line, then you need to make sure when you're pulling your paper out of the bag, you don't open that paper. You do your remote viewing session and then you open your paper after you write end session and you score it. So that's how you can do it on your own. You don't necessarily have to be part of a team, but when you're learning remote viewing, I think it's important to be part of like a team.
The other thing you can do is you don't need to pull it first. You can actually do the session and then pull out what the cue is. So because time doesn't matter, you could
That's
say,
right.
what's the next thing that I pull out of this bag? And then you do your session. And then you go ahead and pull something out of the bag and you're like, wow, holy mackerel, that is exactly what I just sketched and what I described. So
That's
do that.
true. You can. I
I do that a
totally
lot.
forgot you could do that. Yeah, you could when you get really good. Yeah, because spirit always knows, right? I mean, the matrix knows, the universe knows what you're looking for. So
Right.
yeah, you can most certainly do that. It's like when people have a reading with me, okay, I always answer their first one or two questions. They're like, "Oh, that was my first question." It's because spirit knows. So yeah, you're very correct, Ronan. You
How do
can
people
do
get
it in
that, by
person.
the way? Can you tell people how to get in contact with you, Liz?
Oh, well, they all know how to get in touch with me. I'll put it in
People
the
here
comments.
that
But
don't know you.
no, that's
Yes.
awesome. That's awesome. Pulling it. So you could pull it before your session or after your session. But that's how you can do it individually. Or you can go on like Lynn Buchanan's site. I think he has, those things are old though. I don't
Yeah,
know
they're
how old
not
those
really well
are.
prepared at Lynn's site. I think it's a bit old and there's too much information there. But what's your email address, Liz? How do people get a reading from you?
Oh, remoteviewingandbeyond.com. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Remoteviewingandbeyond.com. Go there, sign up for a reading with Liz. She's a long way out now, but one of the best, probably the best reading I've ever had. So thank you for doing it for me too. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
What makes my training different? Well, we do it 2 hours a night for they're 24 hours. Usually courses like 12 hours or 14 hours or 8 hours, like they'll do it a day or a weekend. And if you go to a weekend seminar, it would be great that weekend, but by like 2 weekends later, you're like, what did we do then? I forgot. So the benefit of having it over like 6 weeks is that you get a chance to evolve and get better and ask questions about it. It's 6 weeks there. Yeah, if there's that one. And then I have like, we do sessions of remote viewing targets, but I also have things that I give you exercises for your own spiritual development. So it helps you benefit from the exercises that I've learned, that I've tried, that have helped my intuition increase. And there are ways for you not to just have remote viewing, but if you focus on your spirituality plus doing your remote viewing will be enhanced. So I find that like blending the two of them, we'll have spiritual journey exercises and journaling exercises and things that you can go and then look back on and say, oh yeah, that was really an amazing experience. I remember when I had that remote viewing course back in 2022, I should do that again. So it'll have the ability for you to compare it to something later on in your life too. But I don't want to give away the spiritual development courses exercises too much, but we do those each time. And those are like on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, we would have maybe like 1 or 2 sessions to do. And then you can upload them to the Google Classroom. That's the other thing. Is that one thing here? It's on Google Classroom. So you just scan something in and upload it, and then it's there right in your folder. So I can take a look at it on my big screen and make little highlights on it and say, here's where I think you're making imagination come through and not connecting to the target. Like I can see the process of your remote viewing every week as you get better and evolve it in your TAPP process. Plus, like I said at the beginning, we'll keep doing it. So the people that are here that have taken my course, we're going to meet Monday night, guys. I sent you homework, so I hope you do it. Send it this weekend. And then Nicole says 6 weeks make a difference. She's taken a lot of courses and they left her with a lot of questions that she had to find out later, but how to get them. I also make myself very accessible. If you want to write me, call me, text me, I really want to make that kind of a a direct connection that I have to people. We record it too. So it's on Zoom at 7 p.m. at night. That's my time in Central Standard Time. And then I upload it to Zoom or onto YouTube that night. So anyone that's overseas that wants to watch it can access it online and watch it. And they have access to the Google Classroom too, but they can ask me questions like right after they watched it, or if they want something to clarify. I'm very accessible. I'll chat with you, talk with you on Zoom, WhatsApp, wherever you are. Can I explain what I meant when I said I don't use guides or spirit remote viewing? I can explain it. I don't use guides or spirit when I'm remote viewing. I use my intuition, and remote viewing is more like you're a psychic stenographer. You're recording information as it comes to you in data bits in a cadence. So I teach you that cadence so that you're more able to write down and perceive things as it's coming from you. Because the problem with our brain is that we have to process bits of information, and it comes to us in a way that is not like a Botticelli painting, but it would come to you in little bits or little corners or pieces of that painting, and you would begin to see it, and then you form through many bits and data perceptions a better tapestry or an explanation of what that target site is. I still see the question there. Does TAPP do what Liz does, where she's able to mind probe people, move into the future, and see where they've gone in order to find out what happened in the future? No, it doesn't. So Liz is a psychic medium, and she is very good at doing what she does. And I would like to be able to do what she does, but that takes practice and dedication. So hopefully in the 2025 TAPP course, we'll teach you all that stuff. We do like a basic mind probe where we can get the information about a person, and it will tell us what type of a person that is, but it doesn't go directly to their conscious mind thoughts. But we do kind of some processes that I call mind probe during our course.
So what I actually do though, is I am using a form of remote viewing, but it's just in a really advanced form of remote viewing. I'm not sure what state, I mean, what level is it, Ronan? Do you know?
Yes, I call it, let's see what I call it.
Well, the
we call it
correct
stage
terminology,
9. So here's what we cover.
it's stage 9.
Yeah, or stage 9, probably. That's the person one.
Well, the correct terminology, which, isn't very popular, is remote influence.
We do that
But
too. Yeah.
that's not, I don't like that word. I prefer to say remote conversation. I don't know why it was called that, but even Lynn Buchanan corrects it now and calls it like remote communication, remote conversation. Yeah, that's stage 9. What stages do you teach, Ronan?
Well, right here, I posted what we cover. So
Oh, there it is.
We'll cover these things. So it really goes from stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't do stage 6. We do stage 7, stage 8, and stage 9. So this is what's basically never covered except in advanced remote viewing courses. You get like stage 1, 2, and 3, and that's it. But they're like, okay, now you know stage 3 remote viewing, you can go home and you can sketch something. But there's no fun in that. All the meat and potatoes comes in stage 4. But my method kind of makes things better and faster. So we go through, I teach you how to do mindfulness and become aware of your 5 senses, and not physical senses, but your higher mind senses, which develops your 6th and 7th sense awareness about things and gives you more of like a situational awareness. And then we go through that stage 1, which is now the centering and the understanding how you feel and stabilizing your energy and increasing your protection. And then I teach you about how to collect data with your brain and with your heart and with your gut. And I teach you about why your gut is processing this information. And there's this sort of infinity loop signal that we have to understand that connects this data. So it comes in 3 ways. And then I teach you how to kind of, we should probably go over this more, but the mind, heart, and higher self connection. So there's this physical connection, which is your brain, the stuff in the meat in your head, and your heart and your gut. Those are all physical things. But then there's this stage 2 data collection, which is your mind. And that's over here. It's above your head. It's outside of your mind. And your heart also has a a greater connection to the outside world than you really realize it does, and your higher self. So there's a trinity of 3 connection states in the physical and a trinity in the non-physical that I walk you through. Then stage 3 is like a whole body awareness. In traditional remote viewing, they have you sketch a picture in stage 3, but what I do is I have you walk through the target site and actually immerse yourself there and perceive it and feel it. And so you'll get nuances and energy signals from the site that you wouldn't normally get in a traditional sketch, but you've taken your physical body and you've put it there, and now you're able to get more information more quickly. And then I've modified my stage 4. The old matrix grids are old and cumbersome, and I've made them quicker, kind of adapted to a Hawaii remote viewer given model. And we talk about how to look in the future and how to look in the past and how to do movement time exercises in stage 4. We talk about the importance of how to write cues and what an improper written cue is, because if you write a cue wrong, the matrix or the information source or the higher mind library will give you wrong information. So a garbage cue means garbage information and garbage session. You want to make sure your cues are tight and precise and accurate. And I feel like with a lot of taskings that are written, they're too much information, too many words. You want to be tight, clear, and concise when you're writing a target cue. And we go over how to do that. I talk about how to expand your stage 4 perceptions. So a lot of viewers now are using mind mapping, and there's a few different directions that we can use through mind mapping. I don't use Nemo. No, Nemo is a method that Dick Algire and the Hawaii Remote Viewer Guild uses. It's a neuro-linguistic programming exercise. I have one that I think is more advanced and more better, and it goes through more quickly to get your information in stage 4. And then our stage 5, like I said, is mind mapping. Nemo is like a little face that Dick Algire uses, that he uses when he is doing a whiteboard session, and it reminds him to go to stage 2, reminds him to go to stage 3, and it reminds him to go through all of his stage 2 perceptions. I do a different method. It just uses your hand. So you don't need to write Nemo on a board. You've got your 5 fingers to figure it out.
It's like, I can just briefly say, so Nemo is actually you. So you imagine yourself, you're looking at yourself into the mirror, and then that face you're mentioning, it's actually you. So for example, you have like a cross, in the middle of that face, and then you just like point, upper right, saying that, okay, what do I see? Upper, middle right. Okay, why, what do I hear? Or like kinesthetics. So that's the idea.
So it's a Dick Algire Hawaiian Remote Viewer Guild process for gathering data information in your matrix, and it works well for them, but my method I think works just as well too. We do stage 7, which, okay, so we would have stopped in regular remote viewing courses at stage 4. We'd be done with the matrix. Be like, all right, here's the course, we're all done. But in my method, I also teach you how to expand stage 4 through stage 5, your mind mapping. I teach you how to do stage 7 on your own, and that's something they use in the military. It's like how to do binaries or how to do an A and a B. They use it a lot for recon of geography features. They would say, is the predominant land feature located next to water? Yes or no. You would write yes and N, and you would circle one of them. And it's your gut intuition. They were right about 65% of the time. We try to get it a little bit higher, but it's just that practice of doing those binary exercises. Why do I skip stage 6? Because there's a lot. Stage 6 would be an advanced course to do on its own. We can do, like, stage 6 is more like Plato modeling of a target site, and there's much you can do in stage 6 that I don't cover because it would take too long in the course, but it might be an advanced course one day of all things we can do in stage 6. Stage 7 and 8 are just add-ons, but yeah, clay modeling and like making representations of the site based on 3D modeling or 3D printing, or there's actually software that's used now in stage 6, so it requires a higher level of understanding how to get an understanding of the software. But yeah, there's more things you can do there that we don't have time to learn or teach people, but hopefully soon. Stage 8 is phonics. You can use what you know about a site. There could be dowsing there too. Dowsing is really what I call stage 7. That's the like binary effort of stage 7. And that's what I want to teach people how to do and how to create that inner awareness so that they get their gut reaction, their first reaction, and their non-second thought reaction. In stage 7, I call it's like if you ever watched Wheel of Fortune, they all start with RSTLNE, and then they pick different letters and figure out what the word is. Do I use edging in my methodology as part of any stage 6? Edging, I don't really know what edging means. It sounds dirty, but in stage 6, you can do better sketches in stage 6. So I call something, I give it a stage 6 sketch. I give it a stage 6, what's next? Stage 6 sketch, a rendering of it, which is a little bit more detailed, and then like a very detailed sketch of it. I forgot the 3 that I called them, but you can get better, more refined sketches in the 3 processes of stage 6 too. So there's like a rendering and a modeling, and you're getting more refined. If you have to do a picture of somebody, you'd want to do a stage 6 of that person and take like an hour on that sketch to really get a good idea of what that person looks like. But back to the stage 8, stage 8 will let you get a name of a person or place or a thing in a better way. And you're going through and rhyming and giving yourself an idea of what's at the target site. And it's a good technique you can use, but it doesn't always get you the exact like representation with the target site, but it will get you maybe like a similar or a simile or a metaphor of what's at the target site. Then you have to further decode what that is. And then I teach you the stage 9, which is what we're not supposed to talk about, what movers aren't supposed to do. It's kind of like an affluence mindset, and it's remote influencing, and it's thought transference. I don't teach you that onto other people. I tell you, you should do that for yourself. So we take a future you and we give yourself now future influencing perceptions and ideas and feelings so that you can get a better now experience or a better future experience by having a further out future represent you. So if we have any questions,
how do you do that?
Well, that's in the course. That's stage 9. We'll talk about that.
So what? Okay, tell us. So what do you mean? Like how would you do it for yourself? I mean, look, Lynn Buchanan talks about that.
Right.
I've tried that personally, and it messed me up bad. It knocked me out of alignment. But what do you do? I'd be interested to know how you do that.
When I do this, I don't do it enough because I'm busy making courses and doing things and CTT for people. But you have to sort of create an avatar of yourself. And when you create this avatar of yourself, it can better help you influence yourself in the present because it's outside of time. You've removed the action of doing it yourself from that future state and sort of given that power to another part of you or another aspect of you. So without telling too much about it, that's a way that we do that remote influencing and that remote healing and thought transference.
So I would have an avatar, and what would I send to my avatar? Like, what information would I send?
There are a couple different ways that you could do it. Your avatar, you wouldn't be sending information to it. You'd be sending commands to it. And the commands would be something that it could do for you for daily healing, daily meditation, daily supplementation. And every day, instead of having to take supplements, now your avatar is going to give you those supplements from your higher mind and like kind of an energy connection to you. So the avatar now acts as like a secondary self of you, but it doesn't have a consciousness, but it can if you want to give it a consciousness. A lot of people just have like a very low level consciousness expansion of themselves, but some people want to give it more power. Some people want to give it more autonomy. I have a few different consciousness splits for autonomy. One is like a sentry guard, one is a supplementation guard, and one is like a healing guard. So they were able to give me healing when I need it and supplementation when I need it, and they're able to protect me from people that are trying to infiltrate my space or my family. So that's their goal, and that's their script that they're running. But you could also write another script for it to give you be influenced at the actual right moment to sell a stock, or be influenced at the, see a sign for the right decision. It's however you write the script. I haven't heard of Lynn's med apps, but
Yeah.
Learn more about it.
Well, from Lynn's Med Apps, it's more, from what I know, it's more of basically you envision yourself as a building and you go walk around the building. So instead of using an avatar, you have a building. You walk around the building, there may be trash on the floor, there may be, a door left open, it may need painting, sprucing up, cleansing, moving old furniture out, putting new furniture in, whatever it is. There may be a leaky ceiling or a leaky pipe, and you go around and you fix this building up all the time. Now, the problem with Lynn's Med Apps, and I think it's a fantastic system, the problem is it's far too time consuming.
Well,
You may have to do 12, and he said it on many lectures, you may have to do this 1,200 times in order to fix yourself and make yourself heal. So I think your avatar method would be a much faster process.
well, yeah, if you have to do it 1,200 times, you would actually have to go through those steps. But you could also create a script for your avatar to do it 1,200 times like that, and then it would be done much more quickly. So the benefit is, you, outside of time, he's still living in the now time state, and that's the problem with having to do all these things in repetition. But your avatar doesn't live in time, it lives outside of time. So it can do 1,000 things before you wake up. And that way you've gotten, 1,000x more things done than you ever did before you even got out of bed. So
can you move so what if you say, okay, I'm going to start getting technical now. I'm sorry about this, Ronan.
no, that's fine.
Something just came to me. It was really awesome. This is what I love about remote viewing. You can modify, you can do what you want with it. Don't listen to the old sweats. So what if you took your avatar and you moved it out, say 20, 30 years from where you are now? And so, or when you become elderly, right? So
Right.
maybe 40, 50 years. Can you then program your avatar of when those health problems, so you remote view what health problems you may have in the future, and then you use your avatar to work on that in the future. So when you get to that point, what do you think about that?
It's a great idea. And we're doing genetic profiling now to figure out what you may have in the future. So there's no reason you can't send your avatar out, because it already knows that future state, what you're going to have, and you can work on those issues in the present and now backwards. So you're not going to have those issues. I'm just going to turn my light on because it looks really dark in here. Yeah.
I think that would be really cool, because I do future self movements for people during readings, and sometimes, right, people freak out because they'll have me move them 20, 30 years out. I'm reporting their health problems back and they start freaking out. I'm like, well, hold on, don't freak out,
Right.
because this is telling you what's coming if you carry on the way that you are now.
Yeah, you can change it.
Yeah, that's what I would, yeah, you can change it. But what if you also not only could conscious mind change it from that future self information, but then you also send your little avatar,
Right.
nurse avatar.
Yeah. That, working on it repetitively, daily, and then you're not going to have the problems. Right.
Ooh, I like that, Ronan. That's clever.
So we get to that in stage 6, and I help you build that avatar. And I'm still working with people from my course to build theirs. And you have to give it energy and you have to give it attention. And it's an ongoing building process, Hey, Dagmo, welcome. So I revised the dates of my course. We can go back if anybody has questions about this first, what we cover in the stage of my TAPP method. You can say it out loud or type it before I get rid of this screen. Wow, everyone perfectly understands it. That's amazing.
What was the question?
Does anyone have questions about what I cover in this graphic here in the TAPP course?
I think it's cool.
I don't know. We have to review it first to have questions.
Quick question. Do you have any website where you publish your results? I mean, like a paper session which actually goes through all of these different stages?
I don't have, I mean, I have a website, but it's not working and it got hijacked by Chinese farmers and now I got it back, but I haven't put anything up on it. So I don't have a website up now, but if you wanted to see some, I have some samples I could send to my remote viewing, and I've got, I worked with Courtney Brown to do his Farsight project with Daz and Dick, and I did all 6 sessions of the Farsight World Trade Center tower targets. I could send you that. I did a presentation on it. I've had clients come to me to ask me about remote viewing different stocks, and I've helped them forecast that. All my
But is that using your methodology, the TAP?
I don't discriminate on remote viewing. So if you know TDS and you want to do work for me, if you know CRV and you want to do work for me, I'll bring you on. Or if you know my method and you want to work for me, I'll bring you on. There's you know, anyone that knows how to remote view and is good and can provide that they have a track record of success, I allow them to come on and work with me. But I can share if you guys want to email me to see any of the presentations I've done or made, I could send you those as like a PDF. Christine, so far it's clear. Just want to check all the classes in the evening. Yes, they're done in the evening in Austin, Texas, 7 o'clock time. But it's here.
Hi, Chris.
Craig's here. Yeah, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and it's $4.95 and you can pay me on anything. You've got 2 questions here from.
Can we pay you telepathically?
No, you can't pay me telepathically.
Can I telepathically send you the money?
No, but I do payments and installments if people, don't want to pay the whole thing at once. It has to be paid before the course is over. So you don't need to pay the lump sum at once. I'm agreeable to all forms of the payment that people want to give me. And as long as they can provide to pay for it, I'm agreeable to that. Yeah, Calico, go ahead.
Great. So I guess my one trepidation about this taking any remote viewing course is a target that would be like the towers, the Twin Towers or something like that, that might be like super upsetting or traumatic. And can you tell me what that experience is like and what kind of you do? Or I don't know. I know people do like missing people and murders, and I just don't know what's that like.
Well, in the course, there's nothing emotionally charged to the point that you would get an emotional response to it. I try and keep everything, emotion neutral. So it's not going to be, it's not going to provide any remote viewing PTSD to take my course. They're targets that you will see and perceive and experience in ways that are not like emotionally damaging. But I didn't know what the towers were when I was sketching. I had no idea what it was, but I did all 6 sessions of Courtney's and still I didn't know what I was remote viewing. I just sent all my data to him and he said, thanks, do the next session. Thanks, do the next session. But I sketched like really well what his photos were. I'm really good at sketching like mechanical things or buildings. I'm very linear and very, very descriptive in my sketches, but some people are not. They're more, I get a sense of the target. But for me, I like the lineality. I like the mechanicalness of a target, and I'll sketch that in more detail. But I'll share, if anybody wants to email me, I'll send you my presentation that I did for a local Austin group on my Twin Towers presentation, which probably was too long, but I gave everybody all my sessions and went over it. And I wasn't in the video, so I'm not there. Courtney just said, it was only Dick and Daz that were in the video, but I sent all my sessions too.
Did you have any problems from doing that, Ronan?
I wasn't emotionally scarred or connected or ingrained with it. I also did MH370. And I don't know if you've ever looked at that, Liz, but what I got.
Yeah, I did that right when it went down.
Well, I'll tell you what I got and you tell me if I'm right, okay? What someone tasked me with that, I was blind to it, I didn't know what it was, but I got that all of the seats were buckled and that there was a break in the engine and that it pricked one of the windows and it caused a loss of cabin pressure. And so everyone in there froze to death and they died. And I got the pilot's last thoughts. He was trying to turn the plane to a star or like the sun, and that's his last conscious thought. So that was
So I'm sorry. Yeah, that's I didn't actually go into the why of it went down. When I viewed it, I saw them underwater with the oxygen masks,
that
and
is what
they were
happened.
talking to me. Yeah, they had their masks on, and they were underwater. They were there, and they were buckled in to the
Yeah,
seats.
everybody was buckled in, but there
Yeah.
was this cabin pressure loss, but it came from one of the engines had something hit the engine or something went into the engine and it sparked out and broke one of the windows and it caused the cabin pressure loss of the plane, and that everybody froze. It was like a Payne Stewart. That's how he died. His plane and the PGA player died, but I'd never seen anyone else do work on that until Farsight did their work on it. And I thought, hey, that's exactly what I got when I viewed that too. So like, there was no conspiracy to me. It was just one of the engines blew up and the one of the windows broke, which is tragic. But
but as answering that lady's question, that's why you have to beware of who your tasker is.
yeah,
And if you're not emotionally strong to handle that stuff, then you should never have somebody that you don't know task you ever. And I made that fatal mistake. I say fatal mistake, but somebody tasked me in a reading to find out what Lynn Buchanan's story stone was. I didn't know what the story stone was. I was very new to remote viewing, but I was still doing readings. And you guys have heard me talk about this before. Lynn
Yeah.
Buchanan actually showed up in hologram form warning me because I was trying to pull information from him in order to get what the story was behind the story stone. I had no idea what I was doing. And I actually emailed Lynn Buchanan about it and he confirmed it. And he's got this military grade protection in place.
Right.
But you should always be mindful of who's tasking you.
Yeah. We're never getting targets
Always.
like that. We're never going to get, emotionally charged events like that. It's going to be things that you can, experience and perceive and have an emotional attachment to, which is not a jarring emotional attachment. So Dr. Mo has a question for us. Go ahead, Dr. Mo.
No question here, but I might have a different perspective, be less, I don't know if I guess I am biased because I'm back again, but I have to say this, if anybody was curious, I've taken 5 or 6 different instructors of RV, and this is the only program or class setting that I actually completed. The other ones were just boring. They couldn't teach. Actually, Ron is pretty funny. He has some dry wit about him. So, and he's more intense actually in a good way, but not where it just kind of like you, even if he gets a little bit too deep, he'll pull back and he'll kind of like, change the course a bit. The others don't. They're just like, they have everything set in stone. They don't know how to navigate from there on. And this is the only class that I enjoyed. And actually, even though he has a lot involved, more so than the other instructors, it was easy. So I guess the way he conveyed things is like perfect. And he's willing to work with you. The other ones kind of like they have another job or different life. Ronan is focused on remote viewing, and he's very good, and he's evolved it pretty quite well. So, anyways, and there's a lot more value I think than any other instructors out there. So,
thank you, I appreciate it. Hey, Peter, I didn't see you there. Thanks for coming in. Good to see you. Daniel, did you want to share anything about the course that you took? Daniel also took my course and he was joined, but he's in the car. So I don't know if he's able to talk safely or not.
So again, if anybody has questions and if they would like to ask me, I might have a different perspective since I was in the receiving end. So that being said, I'll be quiet.
I am here. I just trying to find a quiet spot.
Yes, just tell me about your experience in the course, if you would, Daniel.
Absolutely. Just 1 second. I'm trying to maneuver all this stuff. All right. Hey, Daniel Laxton's guys. My personal journey has been, from childhood on, I knew that I had some abilities and things like that. So, but a lot of us, I was distracted by religion and things like that. So it was really nice to be able to do Ronan's class, because it really helped me to open up more of my abilities to be able to understand how to feel. That's the hardest thing too, is to separate the imagination from what you're viewing, or how you interpret that energy. And so for me, it was a extraordinary class. I was going through a lot of shit in my life, so I definitely have to take the class again for me. But for some of you all out there, it might be something that it's pretty quick and amazing how quick that you can learn how to expand yourself. So but I really, really appreciate it. And hey, I love the beard, Ronan. It looks great. I mean, now it's
Thank
it's
you.
good.
Yeah,
Good trim.
I had to trim this. I call this my COVID beard, but since COVID's gone, now I call it my Russian and occupation beard. So when that's over, then I'll get rid of it. Right?
It looks like a good Austinite beard. I love it.
No. Oh no.
Austin, Texas, baby. Yeah.
Ronan, I'm dying because I also had a COVID goatee that I kept for almost 1.5 years. But since the beer flu is gone where I live, I just cut it just the other day. So funny.
Well, yeah, it's a little ridiculous, but the Zoom user asked, may we know what other training Ronan's received besides remote viewing that's psychic or cult in his background? That's a good question. Like training, really not a lot of occult training. It's more just my own research on it. So, I've read a lot of occult books in the 90s, and I read a lot of UFO books, and I liked researching UFOs and other technology and kind of hidden technology. But I haven't studied that many like energy healing modalities. I've just kind of learned them on my own, or they came to me as kind of an inspiration. But there aren't really a lot of other people that I follow. I mean, I know remote viewing is kind of my freeway. It's kind of what I really focused on learning and developing. And I'm still developing it. I'm not an expert. I've just been doing it for 20 years, but I'm dedicated to it, which I think says a lot about what people do now. And they're, want to pick something up and leave it. That's kind of the world we live in, but I want to be dedicated to something and help evolve it. So hopefully in the future, we'll have more people being able to use my method of remote viewing to enhance themselves. Yeah. Calico, I hope that answered it, Zoom user.
Yes, I just, I guess, tagging on to that last question, what are some of the practical applications of remote viewing? To expand on that.
So is there anything that you want to know about that you don't know about, but you would like to know the truth about? And so I think what remote viewing allows you to do is, like, I don't trust anything I see on the news anymore. I don't trust anything that I read because it has an off resonance to me. But I trust things that I remote view because my remote viewing is a direct truth sensor. It's not going to be affected by misinformation. It's not going to be affected by bias. It's the truth, the way that I perceive it and the way that my perception skills have perceived it. So that helps me break through the kind of garbage that's out there, particularly now with everything that's kind of misinformation or disinformation. It allows you to pierce through that. So you can look at, it's going to give you 80 to 85% accuracy in perceiving something that you don't know. And so you would be able to, I wish I had my slide up of everything that you could use remote viewing for, but I don't. But Lids, what could you use remote viewing for that you've used remote viewing for?
What haven't I? done with. I mean, I don't know. You can use it for anything. I mean, you can use it for healing yourself. You can use it for healing other people. You can use it to gain information. You can use it to, I mean, it's really an information gathering tool. I use it in a very different way than most people. Do you use the ideograms, Ronan, by the way?
We do use ideograms. That's in stage 1. Yeah, I teach people how to code those. A lot of remote viewers don't teach how or why we're doing an ideogram, but I also have something called a flash sketch in ideogram 1. And so as a psychic, most people will get, so I'll paint this picture. You all are sitting at your desk, you're doing a remote viewing session. You're doing it for me. You have blank paper in front of you. I'm going to give you your target reference number, which is your TRN. As soon as I say the TRN, you may have a spontaneous flash or a psychic impression of what is at the target site. And I want you to sketch that. And that will be a 15 to 30-second drawing, which may or may not represent what's at the target site. So here's the target, 24253624. And then you tilt your head like this, you take a deep breath, and in your closed eyes, you may or may not see the exact representation of what's at the target site, and then you write that as an image. It's like a reverse image or a flash image and a flash sketch. And I teach this because a lot of people are psychic and they don't know it, but they'll get a direct impression of what's at the target site. And a lot of times, this first 15-second flash sketch is really the best part of the target, the best part of the session, and then they go through and they collect more data. But they don't have that in other remote viewing methods. They just do an ideogram. So my first technique is you do your flash sketch first, which is your mind's eye perception of the target. Then you do 2 ideograms. Then you move on to your 5 senses. Then you move on to your stand-up walking through it. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So that flash can often be really, really important. So you do the flash before you do the ideogram, is that correct?
Yeah, that's the first thing. That's your direct impression.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because oftentimes your flash is more accurate than when you're going in to do your remote viewing.
Yeah.
And how many perceptions do you ask people to come up with during the remote view itself?
So in your stage 2, which is your 5 senses, you should probably get 2 to 3 of your physical senses written down. So that would be 10. And then you would get a heart feeling. And I talk about why the heart feeling in CRV is mislabeled as an aesthetic impact. And it's really like your emotional connection to the site. And then that's probably, so you get 10 to 12, and then dimensions, you probably get 5. So 20 perceptions in stage 2. And then stage 3, I give you a couple of different prompts to walk through the site. And then you write down sort of your energetic response to it, your reaction to it, what you perceived on your feet and what the weather's like. And then in the stage 4, there's about 5 different prompts for gathering more information. One's stage 2, and then there's higher levels of information. I teach you how to contact that. So within a session, maybe like 120 data points at max for my short session. And then longer sessions would be like 200 to 230 data points probably.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot.
There's a lot that goes
and
into
as
it.
you do remote viewing, you get better and better and better, right?
This practice makes better. Yeah, it doesn't make perfect. It makes better.
It makes better, right? It doesn't make perfect. I don't think any remote viewing is ever perfect, but it certainly does get better, most definitely.
I don't know what VSIDs are in HRVG, Omid. When do those come?
VSIDs are already in stage 1. So for example, when you're starting, you just look at your blackboard and getting like an image, and then you make like a quick image of what you have seen. I mean, it's not connected to target, but it's like you're just getting the first gestalt or like the first idea about what the target is. But obviously, every stage you're going through, you're getting closer and closer to the target.
Yeah. Okay. Very, very similar to it then. Yeah, I didn't know that HRPG did that, but I've heard of their SPONEDs, but I didn't know what a VSID is. But So similar to that, yeah, I actually drew that from Courtney Brown's advanced scientific remote viewing training. He said that as you tilt your head at 45 degrees, you access something called the rainbow bridge of information, and you're able to see what the target site is in a better way. And so that's why we use that 45-degree angle to gather in that perception. But it's really quick. And I kind of go through a couple of processes about how I do it in sponids or visual ideogram. Yeah, it's kind of like that, but I call it a flash sketch because it comes like that. It's really quick. It's like a lightning impression of what's at the target site. There are confusing terms, right? I tried to take everything that controlled remote viewing did and use that as my baseline. That's the regular original military remote viewing method there. And then I kind of stepped up from those. So if you know or understand any of the terminology, I provide you with a glossary of all the definitions. You can go through it or ask me what's confusing about it, and I'll help you go through them.
What's the highest stage of remote viewing that you know?
I think Bingo did stage 12, which was modification of things at a target site in the past. So you would be moving things telekinetically in the past, but I haven't done that before. I've only done like mental kind of interference or influencing of myself.
I have heard that actually Lynn did beyond stage 12, but it is classified.
It's possible. I mean, you can make up anything, you know, so I could call something classified if I wanted to, but I'm just going to give people say remote influencing is classified, but they just don't want to teach it because they don't understand it or know how it works. But if you understand it and know how it works, and there are people that are willing to learn, I can teach you how it works. And that's the benefit of, you know, making everything open source and free, you know, but not like free to the public because it can be damaging, but I want to teach you how to do it properly and effectively for yourself. So
because I actually was taught by my instructor who no longer teaches, and my instructor was a psychic medium. So she only taught, well, she taught you the brief overview of, you know, CRV, and then she's like, okay, now you're going to learn the psychic way. So I actually know how to look through somebody else's eyes during X time through X time. I've had to do that when I've worked on criminal cases, and it's kind of freaky, but I enjoyed it. And it was proven so I had to view where the hitman of a particular murder had gone to, like, what did he do with the body? They threw the body in the back of the car or the back of the SUV. And then what did they do? Because they didn't burn the body for 45 minutes. So what did he do for 45 minutes while he was, you know, driving around with his body in the back of the car? Like, what was he doing?
I was actually PG-13 now.
Is that stage 13? Yeah, I was going to ask you. So, I mean, I had to do the style of remote viewing where I was looking through the suspect's eyes, and I was actually flown out to the crime scene. And I'm standing at the crime scene, and I was like, okay, now we got in our car. I said, okay, we go left and left again, up a hill, up another hill, then we turn right. And I said, when he got to the top of the hill, he actually, because he couldn't drive this, it was a Land Rover SUV very well, the suspect. So he crashed into the wall at the top of the hill. And we went up there, and you know what? There was crash marks on the wall. and I was like, wow, that's so cool. But I've never heard of the remote viewers talking about that level of remote viewing. I don't know what stage that is.
Yeah, it's something I call thine eyes. You can actually take yourself and put yourself in another person's body and see what they're experiencing. One of my viewers that I trained in the last course had experience like that recently, where they were trying to perceive somebody's bathroom, and they felt themselves in like a very small body with longer hair, and they saw like the color of the bathroom was pink. And the person said, well, no, it's not pink now, it's blue. But the people that lived here before had a 12-year-old daughter, and it was pink when she was here. So they moved in time you can do time slips too. So you can perceive something incorrectly.
Yeah.
And that's the disadvantage of not having a proper tasker to get you the information, because you can slip outside of what you're supposed to be looking at.
That's cool. And that's what I love about remote viewing. You're a time machine.
Yeah, you're a literal time machine. And there's like something called the temporal slide that we do too, which I talk about in, I think, stage 5 or stage 4, but there's other cool things, other techniques that I go through over the 6 weeks in it. But I wanted to say thank you, Liz, for making this happen, and everyone joining me.
Thank you.
I'd spent an hour. I don't want to take up any more of your time. If there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them for anybody, but that's she's so tiny there. She's really big now, that little Daisy Doodle. She's very much taller now. Does anybody have any other questions about it? Yeah, I'll post this on YouTube and I'll give Liz a link for it. Just when I'm done downloading it, I can send it over. I'll stop the screen share now.
Hi, this